Welcome back to another episode of Square State Sandlot. I'm Kyle Gilmore, and as always, I got Bill Montoya here with me.
And it is great to be back. It's been a little while.
Absolutely, it's been way too long. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to be focusing on, obviously, the game going on right now with the NBA Finals. We have a bit of baseball talk, and we'll dive into a few things, football and hockey. But I definitely want to start, obviously, with the Warriors. Being your team, I want your thoughts on where the series is right now.
So after they lost Game 3, I wasn't feeling too hot about it, especially the way that game went. But they had the Steph injury as well. Al Horford rolled up on his ankle, and throughout Steph's career, he's had ankle issues, and anytime those get tweaked, it tends to knock him out for at least a couple games. After the game, he said, I'll be good to go. So obviously that calmed some of my nerves, but he wasn't 100%, although you couldn't tell in Game 4. I mean, he went off for 43 points, brought the series back to tied, and gave the Warriors home court advantage again. They're back in San Francisco tonight, and they just finished the third quarter a couple minutes ago. Jordan Poole hit a big three to end the third quarter, so obviously, that's exciting. I really hope they're able to take this one, and then all they have to do is win one of the next two to take home their championship. But I will say Boston has definitely put up a lot more fight than I thought they were going to coming into this series. I thought the way that the Warriors were shooting, especially with Jordan Poole, Clay was contributing quite a bit. You even had, Wiggins and then Gary Payton II, all those guys were contributing in the previous series. So everything was pointing out for the Warriors, and it's really been a slugfest. I mean, you got to give credit to these Boston Celtics, the big three for them, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and Jason Tatum, although Tatum hasn't been playing that well. But they've had big performances from Al Horford in Game 1, and, I mean, they've been shooting the hell out of the ball. So it's been impressive, and really it's just been a great series to watch. I mean, even though I would love to have seen, a 4-game shutout in the Warriors' favor, I mean, it's still great to see good competitive basketball. So right now, Warriors are up 10, fourth quarter, 9 minutes left. So hoping that keeps up, and like I said, then they just need to win one of the next two to take home that championship. But what have you thought of it so far?
I guess I have two main points I want to touch on. First one, if Boston wins, I apologize. If Boston wins, that will be 2 seasons in a row that I've called the winner of the NBA Finals before the playoffs started.
Yep.
So if that happens, I apologize, Bill. That was my bad. But
that's a pretty impressive streak if you're able to do it, but
I know.
Won't make me feel any better about it.
No. I'm with you. I'm very impressed with, everybody had Boston as losing this series for the most part, which, rightfully so. Golden State is dangerous, but I like Boston because they play a lot of defense for one. I've really enjoyed watching Smart this season, so it's kind of why I started following him a little bit, but
yeah.
It's just kind of two different approaches to the game, and seeing them clash is kind of fun. The one other thing I do want to comment on is Draymond Green has gotten on my nerves. I'm not impressed, man. He's got a mouth on him. We had talked offline about this prior, but his argument about the 90s players, being tougher or not, that I think Gary Payton made the statement, senior, by the way.
Yes.
To be clear. But it's just
the glove, not the mitten.
Right. It's not an argument Draymond should have ever approached because he's just wrong. Those 90s teams, it was different basketball. It's like comparing, football from the 80s to present day football. It's just not the same, and that's okay. It doesn't mean athletes today are not as talented or as skilled. It's just a different league. And why these modern day players get so bent out of shape over this drives me nuts. You're just in a different league. It's like when Dan Marino put up 5,000 yards. It was a big deal. now putting up 5,000 yards is just what top quarterbacks do because it's a different league, and that's okay. But
you're never going to win that argument either about the 90s. I mean, that's the most popular era of basketball. So, of course, those guys are going to think they were the best and, they were the toughest guys, whatever. And, like you said, completely different league now.
Well, and that started me. This is what started my kind of like, what are you doing? And then to finish it off, everything he was talking about on the podcast, where then that got people fired up that he was talking too much. And obviously what he's done on the court has not been, blockbuster. He still does what he does. He does a lot of things that aren't on the stat line, and I will give him that. But
his first 3 games in the finals were rough. I mean, game 4, he definitely played well. I think he had 8 points, 9 assists, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, something like that. I mean, the stats were where you would expect them to be when you say that he had an impact on the game. And game 5, he's played very well up to this point. So I don't have a problem at all with them doing podcasts, after the game or whatever. I mean, ultimately that's their time. And then, you just hope that starting the next day, they go in and look at the film and figure out what they can correct and do those things. So I'm never going to get after a guy for what he does in his free time. How is it our job to say what they should or shouldn't be doing? I mean, they're the professional athletes,
But I would agree with that. I was going to say, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's definitely a but there. When you are creating a sideshow of yourself and not putting the performances on the court to match it, I mean, at that point, you're more of a distraction than it's worth. And I made the comment to you that I wouldn't be surprised if this is Draymond's last season with the Warriors. I really wouldn't. Obviously, his cap hit and his play has declined not a ton. I mean, he's still an impact player, especially in the regular season. But this playoff series has highlighted that, he's not the player he used to be. And sadly,
I think you could go younger. I think you could go younger, somebody who obviously can shoot better, who also might check some of the boxes he does. Like I said, I get that he's not going to lead your team in scoring every night. He's not that kind of player. But I don't know if you're going to talk as much as he's talking. I would expect for you to not. I mean, I feel like he talks. He's like that guy that gets the group of friends in a fight and then wants everybody else to finish the fight. Like he just runs his mouth and then is hoping that Steph's going to carry him or, whoever takes over that game. I'm always a bigger fan of the quiet guys. I've always been that way. I don't like the loudmouths anyways, but he's just rubbing me the wrong way. So I'm not
always
going
been
for it.
A defender of Draymond, but
I know
at the same time, you gotta put your money where your mouth is, and if you're running your mouth, better be a lot of money there. But no, like I said, he hasn't been the same, and Clay definitely has not been the same this entire playoffs. The way that he was coming on towards the end of the regular season, I had high hopes for him to just, break out. He had a couple good games in Game 6 against the was it the Grizzlies? I can't remember. He had one of his typical Game 6 Clay performances where he just goes off, and that gave me a lot of hope that that's what we would see. Maybe he does that in Game 6 of this series, whenever that is. I think it's on Thursday, so maybe we see that vintage Clay performance, but I don't want to count on it because if you're counting on it, I don't feel like he's going to come through. So that's
the only thing that's I don't know. It's not disappointing. It's part of playoffs and it's just how it works. But that's the one thing that might disappoint me about this series in the end is I feel like Tatum is not playing his best ball and Clay is not playing his best ball. And the series is already fun to watch. Don't get me wrong, but had both those guys hit the ground running in this series, I'm curious, I guess, what the games would have looked like. Maybe no change, I don't know, but I always want to see two teams at full strength, duking it out. So, I don't know. It's a good series, though. It's been fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, this is the most fun I've had watching basketball in quite some time, and we've been so busy just traveling and getting the backyard in shape and all that I actually didn't even get to watch Game 3, and it's probably better that I didn't get to watch it live because it was very disappointing. But going back and watching it, you saw a lot of the things that they didn't do well, and I had a good feeling they'd be able to fix it.
And they definitely corrected them in 4.
Yeah, and I mean they're playing very well tonight, so I'm just hoping this momentum carries, and then we'll be talking about another championship here shortly. But moving on from basketball, let's talk a little baseball. And do you want to go with your Pirates first? You want me to talk about?
Sure.
Okay.
Buccos are. I mean, it's pretty basic. It's kind of rinse and repeat for me. We're still at the point where the game outcome's not really, as important. But at the same time, we're also to the point. I guess I should backtrack. We've called up a ton of rookies. We got Jack Sawinski in the outfield. I absolutely love him. He's made an impact right away. Tucupita Marcano, he's made a huge impact. And actually, he was part of the Adam Frazier trade. And looking back now, we absolutely won that trade. So that's a positive. Cal Mitchell came in. He hit his first homer, actually, the game that I was at. So that was fun. And then Rowanzi, played Diamondbacks. And then Rowanzi Contreras is kind of like our young up-and-coming pitcher, and he's actually in the starting rotation. He has our lowest ERA. He's got some really, really good stuff, and I hope he continues to grow. And that's kind of our storyline right now is we have all these rookies up here, and, they're competitive. Like even tonight, we ended up losing 7-5 to St. Louis, which St. Louis is now in first. They passed the Brewers for National League Central. We were up 5-0. Somebody who's struggled in the past, Mitch Keller, came in, started wonderfully, pitched a great game. We were up 5-0 when he left. He did leave 2 guys on, and then Anthony Banda came in, and unfortunately we gave up, ended up tying it, and then they went ahead. So it's frustrating because I feel like we had the game in our hands tonight and we gave it away. But it's hard not to be excited seeing these young guys contributing, and not just contributing, they are excelling at times. It's very exciting, obviously, knowing what we're trying to build. One of the last ones I'm waiting to see, obviously, is O'Neal Cruz. I think the fans are fired up about it. They're mad that he's not pulled up already, and I get it. We all want to see what he can do. But I do think he's kind of a gem, and they're trying to make sure that literally they've checked all the boxes before they dump him into the big leagues. So I'm okay waiting a little bit, and we're stacked on those positions, kind of.
And he got off to a really hot start, but has definitely cooled down since. And
he's on his way back now. His last, he's on a tear right now, which is why the fans are fired up again. And I get it. We all love the guy. He's an anomaly, 6'7" shortstop. It's fun. But I do like the approach because we have guys that are filling in right now and playing well.
And what I was reading is he's struggling on the defensive side of the ball as well. So
especially in the outfield, and they want to utilize him out there a little bit also because of our situation on the infield. But I don't think he's ever going to be an outfielder. I don't think it's a fit for him. I don't.
Well, and I don't know that a 6'7" shortstop makes too much sense either. So I think they're probably trying to find a place for him to plug him in and get him situated for the long term. So that's probably why. And I get the fans being frustrated, and I'll get to that on my side as well. But just wanted to offer that little tidbit there of what I'm reading from talent evaluators on him, because I was definitely curious why he wasn't up as well. And that's just what I was reading.
His bat's still deadly. I mean, he had a little bit of a slump there, but he's brought it back. And that's it. I think they're hoping he either picks up the outfield or something changes to where he's on, on the infield rotation. But outside of that, it's a lot of growing pains. But it's a noticeable change from last year. Regardless of record, we're competitive in the games far more than we were at this point last year. Our biggest thing is I really hope we address pitching in the next couple of years, be it free agency, whatever. We really need to get some pitchers in there because we got a lot of guys struggling. But other than that, I mean, it's Bucco baseball, watching young kids, and it's fun.
There is an approach that I have heard may work, and that's drafting a pitcher in every round of the MLB draft. So maybe you guys try that.
I mean, yeah, I guess you pull the old shotgun method. One of them's going to land usually. You hope.
It's working really well for the Angels. So,
well, people thought it was. It looked like it was.
Yeah, until they lost 13 in a row, I think.
I think it was more than that, wasn't it?
It was either 13 or 14. I can't remember. But yeah, no, we'll get into the Angels and their firing of Joe Madden. I think that was one of those things where they just weren't planning on extending him, so they may as well move on now in season and see if they can get things fixed. If not, they were going to move on from him in the off season anyway. But to my A's that have been very disappointing, this is one of those seasons that, I mean, it's been so long since I've seen a season like this. It really has. And as an A's fan, I'm kind of spoiled because, yeah, we have a lot of early exits in the playoffs and we have payroll issues. We have a terrible owner. We have all that stuff. But our front office is absolutely elite and usually keeps us in. Even on our down seasons, we're usually, very competitive, usually in it towards the end of the season. And then once we realize we're not going to make the playoffs, then the front office makes some moves to trade guys away at the trade deadline and things like that. And that's when we start to see more losing. But so far this season, we're 20 games below 500. Like, I think we're 21 and 41, if I remember right.
Foreign territory for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's been awful. Recently. We went on a 9-game losing streak just a couple weeks ago, and then we took a series from the Mariners. I think we won one more against. Shoot, I don't even remember who we won one more against. Then we lost 10 in a row. So two 9-loss streaks in one season. I think they said that's the first time that's happened since like the 70s, if I remember right. I think it was 79. So yeah, it's been some bad baseball. And I think the frustrating part for me is that, they haven't moved on from some of the older guys that are taking up that playing time. So it's not like we're even getting those guys in and seeing what they can do. We're just losing. And for what cost? I mean, even when we've scored early, we've taken there was 5 games in a row we took a 2-0 lead to start the game, and we ended up losing 4 of those. I mean, Paul Blackburn took a 8-inning shutout, and they ended up losing in the 9th 3-2. I mean, it's just embarrassing. And it seems like that's happened to him several times this season, where he's had really good outings and just gets no run support. So those are games we should absolutely be winning when he goes out there and gives us 8 of shutout baseball. You got to win his
job. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, there's been some regression to the mean for, Danny Jimenez. He was our starter or our closer, had, I think, 10 saves in a row without losing any. And he's lost, I think, 3 of his last 4. So he's in a rough stretch. He can't throw strikes. I mean, he's throwing heat, but can't get it over the strike zone. The guys are being a lot more patient. So a lot of things to not be excited about. But one thing that I did see is Ramon Laureano. He had a nice little outburst where he was, arguing about basically the pitcher, that the opposing pitcher wasn't coming to a complete stop when he was coming into the stretch. When there was a base runner on, it should have been a balk. They didn't call it. It happened again where he quick pitched one of the A's hitters, and Laureano got really fired up and started screaming expletives at the umpire, got tossed from the game. But just prior to that, he got the team fired up in the dugout. I mean, he was shouting and saying, "We can't keep doing this. Someone's going to have to make a play. We've got to stop this. We can't keep losing 9 games in a row and expect to, have jobs at the end of the season." So he's doing his part to get his team fired up. Obviously, that stopped the 10-game losing streak. They won 5-10, hit a ton of home runs. It was just great baseball for once in, a long streak. And then I just wanted to shout out a couple guys. Like I said, Blackburn's pitching out of his mind. I think he's going to be probably our lone participant in the All-Star game whenever that comes. And then Seth Brown and Christian Bettencourt are both starting to heat up the plate. Seth Brown hit a grand slam recently. Bettencourt has hit 3 home runs in the last 5 games or something like that, when he'd only hit 1 the rest of the season. So he's catching heat. He made an adjustment at the plate, so that's all looking up. But I really want to see Nick Allen. We just got announced that we're bringing up Jonah Hyde, and he's been tearing up the minor leagues. He's quickly moved through the farm system, so I'm excited to see what he can do. They've not made an announcement for the subsequent move. They won't have to make that move until tomorrow. But I'm very interested to see, because Jonah Bride plays all over the infield, and I wonder if this might be the end of the Elvis Andrus era.
Been a long time coming.
Well, I mean, he's actually been playing pretty decent lately, but like I said,
but he still never was what you thought he was going to be, or what they thought he was going to be.
Yeah, I was going to say he was exactly what I thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
Maybe not what they thought he was going to be, but so yeah, I don't know. Like, I really want to see Nick Allen. I want to see Jonah Bride. I want to see some of these younger guys actually come up. If that means we're moving on from people, well, let's do it. I mean, there's no sense. Yeah. If you're going to lose, 100 games in a season, you may as well get the guys that are maybe the part of the future, may as well get them involved and see what they can do. And if they're not going to be the answer, then better figure out another answer. So that's where I'm at right now. It's been a tough watch. Like, I honestly haven't even been watching most of their games, which is a huge change for me. Usually I'm watching every single game.
Wild.
And maybe it'll change once NBA Finals are over. But, I mean, right now, that's what I'm watching, NBA Finals. I'm not watching too much baseball. And that kills me, because it's my favorite sport. But, all right. So you got some notes in here about the NFL. So what do you want to talk about first here?
Actually, before we dive into that, I just want to do a quick, shout out for NHL. We got a Tampa Bay Lightning and Colorado Avalanche Stanley Cup. I don't know what else to say other than I absolutely despise the Tampa Bay Lightning. So let's go Avs.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, though, the Avalanche are playing some really fun hockey. I'm really impressed with what they've done. They added their young defenseman, Makar. He's a stud. I think he was kind of the missing link as far as where they had their exits and stuff from the playoffs. So go Avs. The Lightning can eat shit. Yeah.
No, that's well stated.
All I got on NHL.
I mean, I don't care about the Lightning so much. Like, I don't have anything against them, but it was fantastic to see the Avalanche just take it to the Oilers. That made my day because of Evander Kane. So mission accomplished there.
I hate him. Yeah, I despise Evander Kane. But with that being said, we can dive into some football. I figure we'll start with some of the bigger stuff. We can finish with our teams a little bit. But I wanted to get your thoughts on this Tyreek Hill comment.
Well, real quick.
Go ahead.
I think Andrew Wiggins just ended Boston's final series here.
Oh, no.
But anyway, little nasty dunk by Wiggins. Oh. But, yeah, we'll get back to the football. So you said Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, so for anyone listening that's, not up to date on this, basically he's made comments comparing Tua and Patrick Mahomes. He said that Patrick Mahomes has the range and the throwing arm, but that Tua is more accurate.
No.
So after the fact, yes, thank you. No, most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But after the fact, he's come out and said that he didn't like the way he was being utilized in Kansas City and blah, 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 and all these. So basically, to me, it's showing he was unhappy. And so now he's just blowing smoke because I'm sorry, there's nothing that Tua does. And I don't mean this as an insult to Tua. There's nothing he does in his repertoire that is even close to better than Mahomes in any facet. I don't care what part of the game. You cannot tell me that he does anything better than Patrick Mahomes.
No.
And I'm not a Patrick Mahomes fanboy, but he's very good. But
I think anyone that even would make that argument, the only thing that they would have is saying maybe the scrambling ability, but he hasn't been able to do that even since college. I mean, he got hurt in college and hasn't been a scrambler since, but I think that stigma is still there that he is somehow good at scrambling or making plays, and it's just not true. But
this was a head scratcher for me. He's taking shots is what I took it as. But
yeah, Tyreek Hill just
wow.
didn't like Kansas City anymore, and that's what it is. I mean, you could just say that. You don't have to compare quarterbacks. And that's like, I like the tactic that Devontae Adams used. And that was when he was asked, well, why would you want to go from Aaron Rodgers to Derek Carr? And what do you think he offers, essentially? And Devontae basically said, just like me, I don't compare myself to Jerry Rice, although that's what I'm hoping to work towards. So if I keep stacking these seasons like I am, I think at the end of my career, I can probably be compared to him. But that's what I'm working towards. And that's just like Derek Carr. He's not Aaron Rodgers, but that's what he's working towards.
He's Derek Carr.
He's trying to get his resume to where Aaron Rodgers' resume is currently. That's what he's trying to do. So
no, and that's
one way to say it.
I love, man. That is correct answer, Devontae. Yeah, correct answer. That's all I'm going to say. Even if you think you're better than everyone on the planet, that is the correct answer.
Yep. So yeah, that's one way that I think it could have been said, but I wouldn't expect anything less from Tyreek Hill. He's clearly never been one of my favorite players, and he had all the off the field stuff that apparently just disappeared, and that's why I've never liked him. I won't even draft him in fantasy football, to my detriment often. But I don't like him. I don't mess with him, and he can say whatever he wants about Tua. Tua is not even close to Patrick Mahomes, and we'll see that shortly.
It's not even an insult to Tua because he's got some talent. I'm just saying, like, what are you doing? It's like I don't even. It's like comparing Tom Brady to like
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones. We'll go with that. Comparing Patriots quarterbacks, like, it doesn't make sense. It's a dumb comparison. It's not fair to the other guy.
Nope.
And now think about the pressure you've now thrown on Tua. But anyways.
Tua's got all the pressure in the world on him right now because they've thrown all the weapons around him and said, okay, let's see what you can do. And if he doesn't, he's going to be out of a job shortly. So we'll see what he can do with Tyreek Hill, but I would almost guarantee, I would put my money on it that Tyreek Hill will not have close to the season he had last year with the Chiefs. And that's not going to be just Tua's fault, but it's going to be partially his fault because of how limited he is offensively and what they can do. So he'll be regretting that move, other than that bag of money he's got with him.
I think that's all he's going for anyways.
Yeah.
With that being said, speaking of quarterbacks, I actually have a couple other quarterbacks I want to talk about. So I don't know if you saw Cam Newton's statement about the NFL. It was something to the idea, and I'm not even saying he's wrong, but it was something to the idea of, you're crazy if you think there's 32 quarterbacks out there better than me. Which, fair argument. He's had an MVP season. He's done things. He's a known commodity in the NFL. So I don't think he's wrong per se. You still have some teams that are lacking in the quarterback department. But so the question I'm posing to you, the easy answer would be obviously Carolina, maybe bringing him back, whatever. But do you see anybody kicking the tires on him and bringing him back? You guys have even, been connected to Colin Kaepernick. Yeah. So, what do you think his options are? Do you think any team takes a shot with Cam?
I would love to see him on the Raiders as a backup, obviously. If he's looking for a starting quarterback job, that severely limits his options. Are you
talking about Cam or Colin?
Cam.
Oh, okay.
Well, I would like either. I think both of those.
No, I just wanted to clarify. I wasn't sure.
Yeah. No, I agree with Cam. There's not 32. But the thing that those other quarterbacks have that he does not is youth. And they also have some, what am I trying to say here? They have some maybe upside that Cam doesn't have. Cam has a defined ceiling, and he has a defined floor. He's a known commodity. He's not going to surprise anyone with what he can or can't do. Since he had that shoulder injury, he has not been the same at throwing the football. He can say it's different, but that's what it is. And I would love to see him on the Raiders as that backup quarterback, as the goal line setup where it gives them more options without exposing Carr to getting hurt on those rollout plays where he's, doing the RPOs, maybe diving for the goal line, things like that. So I definitely would not mind seeing him on the Raiders, but if he's looking for a starting job, yeah, like you said, maybe over Sam Darnold. He's better than Drew Lock. I can say that for sure. He's better than Geno Smith. So there's a few options out there for him. I just don't know if those teams are really going to go with the people that are in place, or if they're waiting for Baker Mayfield, which we'll talk more about him in just a second. But I think that domino has to fall before anyone else gets moved on, and that's going to be the situation. And I think the interesting thing is going to be if the Deshaun Watson news comes down and Baker's still on the team. That's going to be interesting what happens, because I would bet very soon we'll have news on Deshaun Watson, especially as more of these revelations come out. And my God, did Cleveland do any research on him? But back to Cam. No, let's just move on. I mean,
yeah, I think we've covered Cam. Let's dive into Deshaun Watson, and then I want to talk about Baker.
Okay. They obviously there's going to be some correlation there, because I think Deshaun Watson is going to be suspended for the entire season. I would be shocked if it's less than 8 games. Obviously, he didn't get punished criminally, which still makes no sense to me. I don't know what kind of evidence the lawyer for these ladies had, but his lawyer, Rusty Hardin, went on a local talk show radio and said, "Hey, haven't we all had happy endings at the end of a massage?" It's like, well, no, and I don't think that's legal either. And he's like, well, it's if they're not paying directly for the happy ending at the end of the massage, it's not illegal. So that's their whole defense, is that, I don't know. I mean, the fact that he went on the radio and said that is just baffling to me.
Well, and we're up to 24 cases now, right?
I think it's more than that.
Last time I seen it was up to 24, I guess, then.
Yeah, I thought it was 26. Maybe I'm just mistaken, but yeah, 24, 26, whatever it is. There's 66 different massage therapists that he used, and all of them have said something similar.
I'm still stuck on the Calvin Ridley situation. If you give any kind of a disciplinary action that's less than 2 years, like, that's a message right there. Like, the NFL, in my opinion, needs to be very careful with this, because you punished a guy for betting $1,500 on his team to win, so it's not like he threw a game. And I get it. It's against their code of business conduct, all that stuff. Like, I get it. I understand that it broke rules. But as a
don't
comparison,
partner with all these freaking betting sites.
Right, and it's not like he cheapened the game. He didn't try to lose. He was trying to win, and he tried to bet on his team. So, yeah, be that as it may, 2 years. So now
I thought it was 1 year, and then they said indefinitely. So he's guaranteed to miss at least one season.
Oh, okay. Maybe I read that wrong. So even a season, if he does not miss at least a season, you are sending a hell of a statement out to the world from the NFL. And with everything that these young players, get in trouble with, I don't think it's a slippery slope. That is not a message you want to send to your players. So I don't know. I'm blown away by this still. So with that, you said a year. I was going to ask you, what is your opinion? What do you think is going to happen?
What do I think is going to happen?
I personally think a year also.
Yeah. No, I think it's going to be a year. I think it ought to be 2 years. I mean, that's what MLB did with Trevor Bauer, and kind of the same situation. I mean, he didn't get prosecuted legally, but there was plenty of evidence there that something went on that, maybe wasn't supposed to be going on. And like I said, I reserve the right to change my opinion if the facts change in that case.
Absolutely,
but from what I've heard, Trevor Bauer is probably not going to win that appeal on his suspension. No. So it seems to me that if the NFL does anything less than that 2 years, it's going to say that we're taking a softer stance, even though there's a higher likelihood that, 66 women are saying the same thing, that maybe some of it's true. I don't know.
There's got to be and there's some truth to it because they've admitted to it.
I mean, they essentially admitted to it. I mean,
is there regardless.
He said on trial that he apologized. They have messages of him apologizing for making them uncomfortable or whatever. So, I mean, it seems like the Browns literally just said, "Hey, did you do this stuff?" And he was like, "Nah." And they were like, "Okay, here's $230 million guaranteed."
Well,
and that was their research.
All right. So with that being said, I want to talk about the Browns.
Yeah.
This is the most Brown move. I mean, this is the most Browns move ever made. I will never understand this team. And don't get me wrong, I love seeing them flounder. It's glorious.
They even screw up signings.
This is a franchise that has waited so long to draft a quarterback that would make a change.
Yep.
And they did it. Baker Mayfield, regardless of what anybody's opinion is about him, he came in and he won games for him.
Yep.
They made playoffs. I mean, he has taken them where they have not been recently. And in return, you played him hurt. And then he struggled towards the end of the season hurt.
Yep.
You dump him. You do this Deshaun Watson stuff. Don't get me wrong. There's things Baker did that I don't think he should have done, that he handled incorrectly. But I understand where he's coming from. And even him being in division and loving that the Browns are just a shit show, I feel for the guy so bad because he's a talented player. There's plenty of teams that he could step in and impact and make them better. So with that being said, I mean, you alluded to it. What happens? Deshaun Watson gets suspended for a season. What do you say to Baker Mayfield?
See, and that's the thing I struggle with, because if he says, like, his opinion is he's done that, right? So let's say early July, they still haven't made a move with him, and Deshaun Watson ruling comes down. He's out. Let's say minimum 8 games, but I'm guessing the whole year. Let's just say that now it's up to the Browns to go to Baker Mayfield and say, "Hey, you want to start some games for us?"
I just can't, man. I just cannot even.
Which he did himself no favors by starting hurt.
No.
Chris Long basically said he cost himself a good chunk of his career by playing injured and just urges players. He said the only person that you're benefiting when you play hurt is yourself if you're playing through an injury to get that contract or something like that. But if you're trying to, win games, it's not the best thing to do. And no one's going to forgive you for playing hurt. Like, if you suck and you're hurt, no one's going to say, "Oh, well, he's hurt." They're going to say you suck. And that's what happened to Baker. So I'm very interested to see how this plays out. I think the Browns are hanging on to him with the idea that maybe Deshaun's going to get suspended. But if you're in Baker's shoes and they say, "Hey, we need you. Can you come play some games for us?" Do you go out there and play, knowing full well that, they basically just gave your replacement a giant contract that they wouldn't give you and all that, knowing that if you play well, you're going to get traded into a better situation, and maybe you don't get any more games after this. What do you think?
Yeah. I don't know. It's really tough because, I mean, part of me wants to be like, if you can financially survive, tell him to kick rocks. I mean, that's what you want to say. But you make a good point, because if he wants to have a career, obviously, if he could go out and, if Watson is already only gone for 8 games, say he comes out and wins 6 out of 8 games, somebody's going to pick him up. I mean, I think I can't believe no one has honestly gone for it yet either. And maybe the Browns wouldn't even field offers right now until they know what's going on. But
yeah,
I don't know. It's tough. Like, it would be really hard to show back up and be like, "Okay, well, I'll bail you guys out."
He was a top 15 quarterback last year. Or not last year, the year prior.
Yeah.
So you have to think, now that he's healthy, he can reclaim that. So he's going to be an upgrade for a lot of teams. And he's still got that upside. I mean, he's still a young guy. He can sustain that success as long as he's not getting injured for years to come. So,
and he's got a chip now. He is going to be playing with a chip on his shoulder.
Not that I think, and I think one thing that's hurting him is OBJ's performance once he went to the Rams versus what he did the entire time he was with the Browns. So I think that's hurting Baker's stock a little bit. But if he goes out there and that's the tough thing for me. If it were me and I had my money and, I'm okay with where I'm at in my career, I'd love to just say, no, I'm not going to play another game for you guys. Screw you. You made this situation. Get yourselves out of it.
I'm going to the USFL.
At the same time, he may never get to start again if he says no.
That's the downside. It's a horrible situation. I really feel for him. I do.
Yeah.
I mean, the Browns were just lost, and for him to come in and do what he did, and then I'm just flabbergasted by it, honestly.
Yep.
So,
well,
I don't know.
One other quarterback situation we can pivot to, and that is the Jimmy G, Trey Lance, and the San Francisco 49ers. Where do you think that situation ends up?
I honestly don't know, man. I'm still blown away that Baker and Jimmy haven't been moved. I kind of was suspecting maybe they would be some draft capital, and that obviously came and passed. I feel like the Niners are wanting to move forward with Trey Lance, but I feel like they also like having Jimmy G as a security blanket, if not.
Yeah, I don't think
Trey's an
ready.
Expensive one.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think the main reason he hasn't been moved yet is just because of that shoulder injury. He ended up having to get surgery, so a lot of the teams that would have moved on or made a move to get him want to wait and see how that heals up before they make a trade for him. So I think that's part of it. I also think that Jimmy is not going to fetch what they want to get for him. So if they've got to pay both, Trey Lance is on a rookie deal, so he's not expensive right now. You can carry both if you absolutely have to.
I have a feeling about Jimmy G, and I may be off base here, but when I look at Jimmy G and what I think he's capable of, and I don't consider this a knock. I don't want people to think this is a negative, but I picture him being like a Fitzpatrick over the next 10 seasons. And that's not an insult. Fitzmagic was the man. He came in and filled in for a lot of teams and made things bearable. And there is a place in the league for players like that. And because I don't think he's going to be, a starter and carry a team player ever. I don't think he's going to be. I could be wrong, but that's who I picture when I think of Jimmy G is a Fitzpatrick type quarterback. So, and I think they're wanting, like you said, what they're wanting in return obviously does not reflect that. Once he gets out of this situation, I think that's where you'll see him is he'll jump around every couple of years and help teams out. But
he's definitely one of those stopgap quarterbacks that can win you games, but he's also not going to win.
You can make a lot of money, man. You can make a lot of money and have a hell of a career doing it. So, like I said, I do not mean that as a knock.
Yeah. No, I'd be interested to see where he ends up. And the funny thing is, the 49ers were parading it around to anyone that would listen to him that they've got offers for 2 second-round picks for Jimmy G. And they're just waiting to hear one more last offer from anyone. So, yeah, obviously they didn't actually have that, or it would have been done if they could have got 2 second-round picks before the draft. But
bluff called.
Yeah. All right, so just a couple other notes we had are on our team. So why don't you go first with yours?
It's obviously this time of year. There's not a ton of news, but I know the big one that's getting everybody fired up is Kenny Pickett's taking the third string reps, which is exactly where I thought he would be. But of course, media gets wild. We'll see what it's like when we actually get into training camp. See where the rotations get, because he's going to start seeing reps. He hasn't seen reps with any of the starting receivers yet, which, that'll come with time, but I'm still a big believer that Mitch Trubisky is going to be starting anyways. They're going to bring him along and as it's natural. So I'm not worried at all, but media's fired up. Outside of that, Najee came in looking wonderful. He's a stud. I expect nothing less. And I really like our wide receiver room right now. If Claypool can return to what he was, Deontay's obviously a stud. And then picking up Pickens was, in my opinion, and I'm biased, but that was a steal of the draft, getting him where we did. So I don't know. It's a pretty nasty wide receiver room. So I'm hoping to see that take effect this season. But I don't know. I'm excited to see where we end up. Obviously, quarterback situation is eating up most of the headlines, but I don't know. We'll see where we end up.
Well, Vegas is not very sold on you guys being a contender.
Never are.
The Browns have definitely moved into third place for that division for best odds to win it after all this news is coming out. But you guys haven't moved at all. I think you're plus 750 if I remember right. So
good.
Long odds, but I'm really hopeful that Mitch Trubisky is going to be a great bridge quarterback for you guys until Pickett's ready, and I think you'll like what you see out of him. But
all I have to say about odds before you dive into your Raiders is we were not supposed to be over 500 last year or make the playoffs. So
yeah,
just saying.
Well, you're welcome.
Boom. Thank you.
We guys got you guys in.
Thank God. That game was rough.
Speaking of my Raiders, a couple news and notes here. We signed a Chris Jones, but not the right one. We signed a cornerback, not the nasty defensive lineman from the Chiefs. So that was another piece of news that, I mean, they've been signing so many guys that I think it's just to make the current starters, projected starters, really watch their back and make sure they're performing well. Trayvon Mullen, I don't know if they're getting ready to move on from him and maybe trade him. But, I mean, they brought in a ton of cornerbacks.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious why. I mean, he's one of those that has been injured quite a bit and is a Gruden Mayock pick. So, of course, they're not going to like him because previous regime, all that fun stuff. So, wouldn't be surprised to see them move on from him. And then there was a article by, I can't remember if it was Vic Tafer or if it was by Deshaun Reed, but they basically said Josh Jacobs is going to be splitting carries a lot more than he was last year, so don't look for him to be the bell cow. It's probably going to be more of a three-headed monster that they typically do in New England, and then they don't expect him to be back after this season because even if he has a good season, they're not going to be willing to pay him what he's worth on the open market. So unless he's willing to take a discount, I don't think he'll be a Raider next season. So I like Josh Jacobs, but it also doesn't make sense to draft running backs in the first round for the most part. And it also doesn't make a ton of sense to extend them. So as this market dictates, I think that's probably the best move to make. But a move they did make is bringing Hunter Renfrow back on a 2-year extension.
Yes, sir.
I have in our notes here the bag of him holding his bag of grapes in college. Still don't know why that picture exists, but I'm going to get it framed and throw it up on my man cave wall.
Now you just need to run into him and get it signed.
Yeah, but there's still a couple pending moves. I'd still love to see them pick up Darrell Williams at right tackle. They've been practicing Alex Leatherwood mostly at right tackle, so wouldn't be surprised to see him start the season there. And then I think we're still awaiting to hear an extension for Darren Waller. I think that's probably coming in the next few days. The way that all these guys did their deals, it made some cap space for them to make that move. So they have prior to the Hunter Renfrow signing, they had $24 million available for moves this season in cap space. So leaves
I'm excited to see. I was just going to say, I'm excited to see those three guys on the field at the same time.
Oh, man. It's going to be
a very
deadly.
Big change for you guys.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a better 1-2-3 punch than Jacobs, Renfrow, and Renfrow, Devontae Adams. You got Darren Waller, and then you got Derek Carr with the best position group he's had in
ever.
Yeah, I mean, Crabtree was his last number one receiver, and Crabtree's nowhere near Devontae Adams. So it's going to be exciting to see what they can do. And it's still shocking to me that everyone has them as the least likely to win the division in the AFC West. Like,
I don't know.
I could see any team in the division winning it. So the fact that they're like
see 3 of the 4.
Well, yeah, we'll see.
I do not see Denver taking that division.
I also don't.
I know that's unpopular, but I don't see it. And
that's probably just some hate. But I guess we should have mentioned the Broncos did sell for $4.5 billion.
I forgot. Yeah, I totally spaced that. But
and as Raph pointed out, any Raiders fan that still shops at Walmart, you're directly supporting the Broncos. So probably need to stop that.
Ruh-roh. Thanks, Raph.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you wanted to mention before we shut her down?
No, I don't think so, other than I agree with what you said on the way in. It's just good to be back. I think we're on a 2-week hiatus here, so hopefully we can get back to a regular schedule again.
Yeah, I don't have any travel plans upcoming anytime soon. Got a lot of baseball going on that I'm helping coach and all that, but outside of that and the backyard getting done, I'm not too busy, so, we'll get some more in here shortly.
Just get shoulder surgery, and you'll have plenty of time.
Beautiful. That's next on the docket.
Do it.
All right, man. It's been great to catch up. We'll get some more content out here shortly. If you guys didn't catch this live, we will be posting it tomorrow in audio format or on YouTube if you want to see it there. And we'll, as always, post a clip of it to get you guys excited about it. But we hope you guys enjoyed. We always enjoy doing these, so thank you for tuning in and thank you for your support.